Welcome back. So, I was watching a video concerning Kakashi from Naruto and why he was like a bad teacher, which I fully agree with. Kakashi was a bad teacher. And whilst I'm not going to go over the points they made in the video, because if you'd like to see that, just go find the video. It's by NC Hammer. It was uploaded like 10, I don't know, maybe an hour ago or something, or 2 hours ago. Either way. But I don't want to talk about the video and the points that were brought up because I feel like it's not needed. I already believe Kakashi was a bad teacher personally, and the video just affirmed my reasons why. What I would like to discuss is how he could do a better job, or what I would have done in his shoes. So, I think I do want to be fair with it. Because I'm not just gonna say like, friggin' he just neglects Sasuke this time around. Because I do want to be a bit fair. So rather than say that, I would say for this. So there's a month between the end of Forest of Death. I believe it's end of Forest of Death, and then the matches for the tuning exam. Goddamn, I thought I was safe there. Yeah, there's like 1 month apart, whereas, yeah, it is definitely that, because that's where Kakashi trains Sasuke for the Chidori. Rather than the Chidori taking a full month to master, I'm just going to say it takes Kakashi a week to teach Sasuke the Chidori and for him to learn the chakra control stuff for it. That way he should get an somewhat equal amount of time between all of them. Granted, a month is more like 4 weeks rather than 3. But we can just say like whatever he takes like a week and a half for Naruto and Sakura. So I think the way he should have done it is actually quite simple. It would have been simple for both of them, actually. Well, not really both of them. So the way I would have done it for him is that he should have taught Naruto his chakra nature. Absolutely, wind. He should have taught him wind. But I don't think he should have taught him any wind-specific jutsu, because that may take too long to master. What I would have him do is teach Naruto better chakra control and how to better input it into his attacks. So the way I would look at it is, look at how Sakura does it. She imbues her fists with chakra, which results in explosive strength. Now, he wouldn't be on Sakura's level because he's not as proficient at managing his chakra. He's not as good with chakra control, but it would give him a boost to his strength. Plus, this is kind of twofold. The reason I would have him also learn wind nature, is his chakra nature, is because I would make it so Naruto learns to imbue his fists with both wind and extra chakra when he's hitting someone. Therefore, the hits are not only powered up by chakra, but they are also imbued with wind. So whenever he hits someone, they're like blown back a little bit. Sure, it doesn't have to be strong. Doesn't have to be freaking blowing up freaking twisters every time he punches them. But it can stagger them. It can like freaking stun them. Like if they're trying to go for a hit, like say if they're swinging their fist towards him or swinging a sword, he punches out, hits them, and the gust of wind blows back their fist or their weapon. Maybe not enough to fully stop it, but enough to disorient them. And plus he has the extra strength behind the blow because he's imbuing his fist with chakra. This just seems like the obvious answer. Yeah, no, it's pointless. There's nothing there. It seems like the obvious answer because Naruto is a brawler. He makes as many Shadow clones as he can, and then he goes in for hand-to-hand. So, I think the best thing for him would be to lean right into that. covering his weaknesses, which would be long range, would take longer than a week, and so it's not useful for practice. It's not useful for the week of training before the tuning exams. It would be far better to have him enhance his current strengths, which is his brawler kind of style of fighting, which is getting in close and throwing fists. So have Naruto learn to output his chakra nature. He doesn't have to use it for a spell, because not a spell, but a jutsu, because learning shape transformation with his wind would take longer than they have. So just have him learn to output wind with each of his attacks. Therefore, his fists and his brawling is stronger because of the fact that he is enhancing himself with chakra like Sakura does and Tsunade do. He's also using wind to disorientate his enemies by blowing them back and creating distance. Now for Sakura, I think things will be a bit different, because we know she has amazing chakra control, which would lean toward Genjutsu, but I don't think he would go with the whole massive strength route. Kakashi wouldn't. That was Tsunade's route, because that's the kind of person she is. She is a medical expert with very strong fists. That's what she is. That's what she taught Sakura to be. But that's not who Kakashi is, so I don't believe he would go that route for her training. I believe he would lean more into what he said she could be, which was a Genjutsu specialist. Now, she's not going to pull out anything crazy, I don't believe, but I think what she could do is small Genjutsus. I think she can learn small Genjutsus before the tuning exams. Think of something simple, like something people wouldn't question whether it's a Genjutsu or a normal jutsu, whether it's just a ninjutsu. So think of something like slowly bringing in mist or fog, but you're not actually bringing in fog, it's just she's using Genjutsu to make you believe there's fog rolling in. But because of the nature that it's just, well, fog, it's not anything harmful, it's not anything out of the ordinary, you could sway to believe that it's just a Genjutsu, not Genjutsu, a ninjutsu, or that it's just kind of happening. So teach her small stuff like that, where she can just slightly make the enemy go off, if you will. Not necessarily put them in a world where they're like, oh, this definitely isn't real. Ah, crap, you're supposed to have fallen down here, why aren't you down here? Don't give them anything too big, so they automatically know this is a Genjutsu. Give them small things, like make them believe someone's weaving hand signs. Make them believe another person's just turned up. Make them see things that put them off guard or put them on guard but away from you. Here we go. Honestly, Genjutsu is neglected a lot in this series. Of course you have the big one, which is Tsukiyomi and Infinite Tsukiyomi. But besides from those two, it is neglected quite a bit compared to Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, oh god, what's it called? Kenjutsu, which is like swords and stuff, and weapon mastery. Yeah, but that's what I do with Sakura. Oh, there you are. I was wondering where you dropped down. That's what I do with Sakura. Have her learn small Genjutsus, which could not necessarily finish off an opponent, but make them question themselves. And not just themselves, make them start throwing attacks at things that aren't there. Therefore, you have the chance to get around them. Of course, you can't just make yourself disappear unless you do it specifically to make it seem like you used a ninjutsu to do it. So if you make them believe you used a ninjutsu instead of genjutsu. Of course, it would be useless against someone who can sense that the chakra is off. But then again, this is the month before the final exams. No one's going to be able to interrupt them in order to make the genjutsu stop. This isn't the Forest of Death, it is the final matches. So they should have taught them something for that. But Sakura isn't even in the final matches after the Forest of Death stuff, so let's just say he teaches her a little bit before Forest of Death. Like, because we know they had some time together before the tuning exams, because there's time where they're just doing basic missions between the Bell Test and the Zobaza arc, the Land of Waves. And then there's, of course, not much, but a small bit of time between Land of Waves and tuning exams. I don't believe it's much time at all, actually. Either way, just like a day, just 2 days attempting to train her in something, just anything, because he doesn't give her anything. Not a goddamn thing. So I saw someone make kind of a similar thing for Gojo, but it was kind of the opposite. There was like, he was saying like loads of people rag on how Gojo didn't teach Itadori much, but he can't really teach him much because most of people's power comes from the curse technique and Yuji doesn't have one. But I think that person was wrong. Gojo slapped a freaking toy in his hand, told him to control his curse energy output, which is fine. That's basic training, simple stuff, needs to be done. But that's all he really taught Yuji. Nanami was the one who taught him about the Black Flash. He couldn't teach him any techniques, of course. He did try to explain domain expansions to him. But that's basically it. Everything else, Itadori's had to grind and work for on his own. Which is another thing that person tried to bring up, is that Gojo believes in growth in like the heat of battle. He believes in growth when you're on like the cusp of death, when you're like near your end, because that's how he did it. In his, I guess, spoilers, in his fight with Toji, Toji almost kills him, and Gojo essentially like awakens. And the person said that this is probably how Gojo sees training, in that it's most effective when you're pushed to the brink and forced to evolve, forced to overcome. You can't just be taught everything. But that's just an excuse in my mind. I think he did a good job with Megumin, but he's raised Megumin since he was a kid. With Yuji, though, Gojo barely did anything. And it's just kind of infuriating. Because, like, if you're gonna have a cool sensei for the main character, please give them decent things to teach that main character. You can't just give them 1 to 2 things to teach that main character. Senseis are supposed to be, essentially, the top tier for your main character. At least for a while. For like, the beginning of the story, they're meant to see this sensei as someone untouchable. Like, think of how freaking strong Kakashi was in the start of Naruto. He seemed untouchable. He freaking destroyed Zobaza twice. He almost killed Zobaza with a freaking lightning blade. He would have killed him with the first time they met as well if Haku didn't step in. Like, Kakashi is seen as just so far above everyone else we've seen. And so, of course, it's amazing to see, and you're like, oh my god, I can't wait for Naruto and Sakura and Sasuke to get to this point. Because that's the kind of feeling that sensei should like, display. And I think the way it's written, Jujutsu Kaisen does a good job of showing this and telling us this, because Gojo specifically says, when Yuji is presumed dead, if he'd been allowed to grow, him, Akari, Yuta, I think he also maybe mentions Megumin. He says these people would have all risen to my level. And great, that's great. It means we clearly have, like, Gojo's the best, the highest there is, and they had the potential to grow. They have the potential to grow to his level. Show me it. Show me it with him training them. Like, not Yuta and Akari, they're doing their own thing. Yuta and Akari basically just need to master their curse techniques. They can't really do that with Gojo, since they need to work it out on their own, since it's their curse techniques. But make him teach Itadori more. He needs to teach him more. He should have taught him more.
Oh, well, there is nothing forlorn about you. You must be the other Ash, I suppose.
I am Ash.
Oh, finally, you have come. Oh, wondrous Ash, grant us our wish. Make the tales true, and burn this world away. My lady must see flame, and you have only to show her you are.
Like, even just outside of I just thought about this because I was thinking of different anime teachers, and I thought of Kuro Sensei. And with that in mind, it's helped me realize also, it's not just about physical strength, what they can teach him. Yuji is a mess. Yuji is such a massive mess. Okay, Yuji is an emotional wreck. And Gojo isn't there for any of it. And spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen latest chapters. Ever since Gojo's come back, we haven't seen him interact with Itadori, really. We haven't seen him acknowledge Itadori in any meaningful way. Freaking Itadori as, like, approached Gojo. There was like a nice moment between them where he's like, Sensei, your technique is in the way, of course referring to Limitless. And so he's of course saying, like, take it down so that I can pat you on the back. So that was a nice moment. That was very wholesome. I did enjoy that. But Yuji has been through so much since Gojo's been sealed away. And Gojo hasn't seemed to acknowledge any of it. He hasn't helped emotionally at all. Now granted, we did skip a month, and it does seem like they're sprinkling in flashbacks for that. So we might get something later on where Gojo talks to Itadori about it, about losing Nobara, about losing Megumin, about having Todo's hand cut off, about losing Nanami. There needs to be something, because Gojo is not acknowledging anything Yuji's been through. Because between Shibuya and the Culling Games, he has evolved so much, and I don't know if it's the best, because God, it's just so. In Shibuya, he essentially got beat down by Chozo, then was forced into being Sukuna for a while, in which case Sukuna killed possibly hundreds, and then made Yuji take that on. He made him freaking remember everything. He taunted him about it. And so Yuji is devastated. So much so that he doesn't mind dying. He wants to die so that he can just get rid of Sukuna. And after this point, he just believes himself to be a cog in the world. He believes his role is to kill cursed spirits and then die. That is his role. He's not there to stop anything big. He's not there to do anything spectacular even. He's just a cog in the world. Meant to do his role and then die, essentially. Which is awful. He's like 16. He's like 17. Like, someone needed to be there to help him with that. And Gojo wasn't. And I don't know if anyone was. I think Yuji just had to force himself out of that mindset. He had to grow to hate Sukuna so much that he himself changed his mindset. Like when, I think I'm remembering this right, when Sukuna, like, abandons Itadori's body and goes into Megumin's, he drops the cog thing because of his pure hatred for Sukuna. His one goal now is to kill Sukuna and save Megumin. So he's forgotten his whole cog in the world role, which is good because I don't want him thinking like that. They're so pessimistic, they're so awful. And it's even worse because of how freaking. I don't want to say go-lucky he was in the beginning, because he wasn't exactly go-lucky. He's not like a Tanjiro or a who else? Who else? Freaking Gon at the start of his series. He's not like one of them. Well, actually, in fact, he's very much like Gon now I think about it. He seems happy, but he has a hidden insanity to him. Hidden dark side, if you will. And we see that fully come out in Shibuya when he's facing Mahito. He's like, he agrees with Mahito that he's like him. That is the same in I'm you. That's what I saw someone mention that it didn't really make sense, which really confused me because they explained it in the chapter. Like, Mahito was going on about the fact that he is a cursed spirit who lives essentially to kill humans, and Yuji is a human who lives to kill cursed spirits. They're essentially the same person. That's what Mahito was saying. And originally, Yuji denies this, but then Yuji comes to accept it, and that's what the I'm you statement is. It's him accepting that him and Mahito aren't that different. Mahito was right. That Yuji is him. He's just there to kill cursed spirits. It's what his life's purpose is. That's where the whole he is a cog thing starts. He believes himself to be a cog. That's what he says to Hikari when they go to find him. That is the reason that freaking Yuji is just... He needed someone to talk to because he didn't have anyone to talk to about it. The way it seems to be going with Jujutsu Kaisen, the way it has gone so far, it seems to be very, very battle heavy. I don't think there's much room for just emotional talks later into the series. Like, Shibuya happens, and that's an entire thing. There is a little bit of downtime between Shibuya and the Culling Games, but that downtime is them just researching the Culling Games and looking for Hikari. I'm not going to say there's no depth or no growth, because there is growth, but what I'm talking about is something different. There's no downtime, there's no time to talk and relax and just express themselves as they should. Because they are still in school. Like, they're only 17. And yet, they're facing life and death situations. I don't know, every few months at best. Every few weeks, if you will. Now, granted, the life of a Jujutsu sorcerer is short to begin with, I believe. I think it's only like 20, 25 years they typically live for, but I'm maybe just thinking of Demon Slayer. Either way, unless you're strong, you don't live that long. And it's just, that's kind of the problem. They deal with so much stuff. Like, if they could produce cursed spirits, with how much negativity and crap Jujutsu sorcerers have, like, just from, like, I imagine depression from seeing their friends die, freaking anxiety just from thinking of cursed spirit nearby, freaking panic attacks from freaking trauma. I imagine if Jujutsu sorcerers could produce cursed spirits, they would produce more than the world combined. I imagine. Well, more than all of Tokyo at the very least, since that's where cursed spirits are. And bear in mind, there's only 2 Jujutsu high schools, and yet I bet with just that small amount, I imagine that just all of them would produce more cursed spirits than the rest of Tokyo, just because of how much crap they have to go through and how much trauma they likely all have. Like, literally, I think every single Jujutsu sorcerer is at least a little bit insane. And it's one of Gojo's lines, that to be a good Jujutsu sorcerer, to live long, you have to be a little bit insane. And it's what he says when they're trying to, see if... God, what's her name? Nobara has it. Nobara. it's what he says to when they go to see if Nobara has what it takes to be a Jujutsu sorcerer. Nobara goes and kills the cursed spirit, and Gojo is like, "Oh yay, she's insane." Like his line is, "Thankfully she's insane." That's good. Like granted, it's kind of like a joke, but still, I feel like all Jujutsu sorcerers need a therapist, okay? And they're not getting therapy, and it makes me mad because I love Yuji. He's amazing, and I need him to get therapy, okay? He needs to talk this stuff out because he doesn't have anyone to talk it out with. And what's he gonna do? Talk to Sukuna about it? Sukuna's gonna laugh in his face, and he doesn't even have Sukuna anymore, even if he wanted to go to him. I will say, a fun side story, like a what if that could happen, that just sounds fun, I just thought about it, is if he really did just go insane and just started siding with Sukuna, like Yuji did. Like, if near the start of the series, he just kind of loses it and just starts doing bad stuff, and freaking Sukuna gets impressed. He's like, "Ooh, I didn't expect this turn from you. Maybe we can work together." And they just start swapping in between. Like, Yuji lets him out for a bit on purpose, just because he doesn't care about anything bad Sukuna could do. I do think that could be like an interesting what if. Anyway, I am getting off topic. My main point being, Gojo is a bad sensei. Like, without a doubt, a bad sensei. Kakashi is worse because he does have more he can teach his students. Kakashi can teach them about the wind natures because he basically has every single one. Considering he can copy them. But Gojo can't just teach Yuji any curse technique, so he does get a bit of flack there. He does get a bit of leeway in comparison to Kakashi, but that doesn't get him off the hook. He's still a bad sensei. Both of them are, really. I guess it just comes with the blindness. Or the lack of eyes. I guess lack of good eyes? Or I guess eye cover? I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. They both have bad eyesight because they both have weird eyes. And they're both covering their eyes in some extent. Either way, I'm going to end things there. We will start off next episode with attacking this place. That's going to be fun. I'm probably going to die. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. I'll see you all later, and goodbye.